Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And in this case, we're talking about the Alzheimer's Association. We're honored to be joined by Kelley Marshburn. She is the Director of Development for the Alzheimer's Association, the Tennessee chapter. How are you doing, Kelley?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, we have a lot of good news to share and to talk about some big upcoming walks. And so let's go ahead and start with some context, though. When you talk about the Alzheimer's Association and dementia, let's kind of put in perspective for those who, they might know the terms, but they don't necessarily know the terms. So go ahead and describe Alzheimer's disease and how that fits into dementia.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a very common thing we talk about at the organization. We do a lot of education in the communities. So really, dementia is kind of the umbrella term, and Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. So 60 to 80% of dementia related diseases are Alzheimer's. There also is Lewy body, frontal temporal, which is what Bruce Willis was just diagnosed with this year. So there's a few different kinds of dementia, like related diseases, but Alzheimer's is definitely the most common form of dementia.
When you look at your work, there's advocacy, support, funding research. There's a lot to unpack. And so go ahead and talk about the mission for the organization, and then we'll start diving into each of those areas.
Yep, absolutely. So that you hit on kind of our three biggest points, mission points for our organization. It is kind of the research is a huge piece. Obviously, we know that's kind of the avenue to a cure. We know that's our biggest thing that we need to focus on for the future, but we also are really, really focused on caring for those living with this disease that may be in those middle, late stages. How do we help those families? How do we provide resources to them? So that is a huge piece for us, which we work with organizations in the community to help. We work with the Tennessee Respite Coalition. We work with leaders at some of these senior living facilities to host support groups. We do just a number of things to try and provide support for those dealing with this disease. And then advocacy is also a huge piece. We know that funding from the government is important and support from the government. Here in Tennessee, it was a couple of years ago now, but we're in the third year of a bill that we funded and we advocated for to get our legislators to fund that was for respite care. So providing care and time for those loved ones that are caring for somebody with Alzheimer's. And this, again, it's a 3-year program that they were able to fund because we have advocates in our organization that share their stories and tell their legislators why this is so important and why they need that support, from the government. So we do that on the state level, and we also do it on the federal level. So we have advocates that go. We have a state advocacy day, which we held in Nashville in April, where we have people coming from Memphis, Knoxville, Chattanooga, all over the state of Tennessee coming together to talk to their legislators and share their stories. And we do the same thing on the federal level. So I'm not sure, I can't think, it's probably, I want to say like March, maybe we were up in DC. And we had 900 volunteers show up in Washington, D.C. They had a rally. They had a number of different things where they shared their stories and talked to their legislators at the federal level, just again about how important this is, how expensive this disease is. That's a huge piece of that. And just the need for the funding for care as well as research for this disease.
Let's go ahead and dive in a little deeper on some of those. Let's start with the research and development, the new treatments and protocols, because there is some good news to share on that side. And so the Alzheimer's Association is the #1 nonprofit funder for research. And so when you talk about, that side of this, it's extremely important, just like you mentioned. Talk about the research, talk about the good news.
Yes, we are really excited to share this. Again, this is a very difficult disease, very challenging for families to deal with, to navigate. It's a different journey for every family, which is also challenging. It looks different, but it's exciting to share that we have some hope on the horizon. We are kind of entering what we're calling our era of treatment. We have our first treatment that has been approved. It was July 6th, so just a couple months ago, fully FDA approved, that targets the underlying causes of this disease. So prior to this, there are treatments, there's drugs that are available, but they only targeted symptoms. They were just symptom management, trying to help people along the journey, just to be more, comfortable. This is actually slowing the progression of the disease. So this drug is very exciting for us. We also have a pipeline from this drug that are also right behind it that are in phase 3 trials and showing really good signs as well. So it's called Lecanemab, the drug that was just approved. It's very, very just exciting for our organization to have, kind of that first treatment that is truly targeting the disease and showing really good signs of slowing. I will say you have to be in the early stages. So this is kind of where this snowballs into our work we do with the health systems across the country, but this is for early stage because there's kind of those early, mild, and late stage of the disease. So you have to be in the early stages. You have to be diagnosed to start taking this treatment. And so that's why we are kind of flipping our next page into like getting better diagnosis, better detection, working with physicians, working with the health systems to make sure that people are getting diagnosed early enough to be able to access this treatment.
Carry that into the support side, because to your point before, every family's journey is different. And we've had a chance to interview some of the different leaders in the organization on your end, especially board members who have very personal stories and what they went through as a family and what they're going through as a family. And so talk about the support groups, because each one of them has said, man, that really is a true, saving opportunity to have this group that you can lean on with the research and all the support elements that go with that.
Yeah, it's so critical. I think it's something that probably we don't talk about enough as an organization. Maybe, we focus on the walks and we focus on the fundraising and the research, but again, those support groups are what people are clinging to when they're in the middle of this disease. And I think, we always talk about the worst thing we can hear when we meet somebody is that I went through this journey, I lost a loved one, and I wish I would have known about the Alzheimer's Association, So I think that's where the walks come in, because they're our biggest awareness piece. They're the easiest place for someone to show up that may not, know where to turn. Maybe they got invited by a friend, or they heard about it, or they saw about it on a radio station or wherever they saw it, and they show up, and then they're opened to all the resources and support that's there. And one of those is our support groups. And they're so critical because people just don't know where to turn. They don't know what to do, and they feel alone. But this is such a prevalent disease that you're really not alone at all. There's 6 million Americans living with this disease. There's 11 million people that are caring for somebody that are unpaid, a family member that's just, caring for an elderly parent or a grandparent. And so that we hate that people feel that isolation and that they don't know what to do, and that there's no, support when there really is so much. So that's why we utilize our walks. Those are our biggest, we call them the largest support group of the year, which is fun because it really is. You get there and you just look around and you're just amazed that, all these people are coming together and they have different reasons why they're connected to the disease, but they're all there and that you're not alone at all.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into these walks. And so you've got them across the state of Tennessee. You've got a big one in Nashville and a big one in Memphis to dive in deeper on. So go ahead and talk. I mean, as you're mentioning, the walks overall, the importance to the organization on the fundraising side, and obviously raising awareness. And then we'll dive into Memphis and Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we have over 600 walks across the country for the Alzheimer's Association. Last year, we brought in over $90 million through those walks. So it is the largest fundraising campaign that we have. And it is kind of the lifeline of this organization. That's how people come together. It's how they learn about it. It's how they get the support. And it's also how we raise a majority of our money. So in Tennessee alone, we have 10 walks statewide. Pretty much anywhere you are, we've got one close to you. Again, we've talked about Memphis and Nashville as two of our larger walks. So our Nashville walk is happening Saturday, November 4th. It's at Nissan Stadium. It is a wonderful event, roughly 2,000 people out there. We've got a pet zone, a kids zone, live music, food trucks. It's just a big celebration of everyone coming together and feeling that support. And then over in Memphis, also one of our largest, is Saturday, October 21st. And we are at the Simmons Bank Liberty Bowl Stadium this year, which we're really excited about. That's a new partnership for us. And so these are just great events. They're, again, two of the largest that we have. Nashville is one of the largest nationwide, which is really, really exciting for us. Last year we came in as the third largest fundraising walk. Right now we're number one on the chart, but fundraising doesn't close until the end of the year, December 31st. So we still got some time to go, but it's just really exciting for, our state to kind of be on the map there. You're talking about huge cities across the country that have these walks: New York City, Chicago, LA, all these places. And it's exciting to see that Tennessee is so generous and so supportive of the community and, and the people that are living here that are dealing with this disease.
Give us an idea of what the experience is like. So for a first timer, what would it be like?
It's really exciting. You get there early. They're usually, I know for Nashville, the walk will start at 8 a.m. So the parking lot will open at 7. It's a great time to get there and check out all of the different vendors. We have a lot of great sponsors. Jack Daniels is our presenting sponsor in Nashville. They are a huge supporter of our organization. They also are a presenting sponsor for another walk down in Lynchburg, Tullahoma area, which is awesome. So you'll get to see all the different sponsors and their vendor stations. We'll have selfie stations. Again, like I talked about, there's a kid zone at every single one of our walks. So there's face painting. I think we're going to have cotton candy, all the things usually we have a VIP area, which we call our Champions Club. So that's any of our top fundraisers that get kind of wine and dined in a special area at the event. We kind of roll out a purple carpet. They can take pictures. We usually have an honor wall where you can either bring a photo of a loved one or write up there who you're walking in honor of. We will do the really exciting part, I think that sets us a little bit apart from your average walk maybe, are these flowers. You can kind of see them in the background of my picture here, but they're a staple of our event. So they are handed out to every single person that shows up at the walk, and you get a flower color based on your connection. So the purple flower means you've lost somebody to this disease. If you're holding a yellow flower, you're a caregiver for somebody. The orange flower is just that you're there supported. Maybe somebody invited you and you don't have a direct connection, but you're there, in support of the mission. And then the blue flower is that you're living with Alzheimer's. So we have a number of, people, and they get their flowers. Sometimes people are holding multiple flowers for that reason. And then we do a quick ceremony before the walk on stage we'll have somebody from each color come up and share their story. And then the final thing we hold up is a white flower. And that kind of signifies that first survivor that we're in the fight for, and the first survivor of Alzheimer's. So it's just a really moving moment, and it's right before you go do the walk. We have a lot of great music, a lot of fun. So I think it's just a good experience. And again, it's really just that support and the resources that you'll find there that are so critical.
Yeah, I love it. Obviously, this is a fundraiser. So talk about how we can get plugged in. How can we obviously, support, especially financially, the walks, and then also too, just, throughout the year, how can we get involved and help further your efforts?
Yeah, there's a number of ways. I think, I kind of open it up when I talk to people who are new, and I'm just like, whatever you're interested in, you can probably do it here. So if you're interested in fundraising, we have great tools, online tools. We have basically a website that you get. It's kind of like your participant center. You can customize it with photos. You can share your story. For example, our loved one or our board members that have lost loved ones. I lost my grandmother, so I have a picture of her on there of why I'm doing this. And so you can share your story on there so people can really understand, why you're raising money and why you're supporting this. We also have an app that's really easy to use. You can just download it in the App Store, Walk to End Alzheimer's. It will link up with whatever walk you're registered to, so you can get donations there. You can use the mobile check capture right there. So if somebody writes you a check for $50 to donate, you take a picture, it goes straight into your fundraising account. A lot of great tools for fundraising if that's what you're interested in. And again, like we talked about, we have these huge events. So we obviously need lots of volunteers. So if you're more interested in just coming and helping that day, some people will come volunteer in the morning with some setup, then they'll go do the walk. That's a really common thing. So there's just so many ways to get involved. And again, throughout the year, we have the advocacy thing. that we do throughout the year, where we're talking to our legislators and sharing our stories and inviting them to be a part of, our events and our things we have happening, so that they understand, how critical this time is for our organization and how prevalent this disease is.
Well, the last question then is the easiest. Where do we go to start learning more and get plugged in? So website, social media, where would you direct us to go?
Yes, our website for the walks is easy. Our general website is alz.org. And then when you want to find the walks, it's just alz.org/walk. And then from there, you'll just type in, you can search it by state, by zip code, any of that. So it's really easy to find your walks and our Tennessee walks right there. You'll see Memphis, you'll see Nashville. We've got Knoxville, Chattanooga, Clarksville, Murfreesboro, Cleveland, Tennessee, and Jackson, Tennessee. So again, spread out. We have a Tri-Cities as well. I think that was the only one I missed. So a number of walks depending on where you're at and where you want to get plugged in. And then on those walk pages, there is a personal contact. So on Nashville, you'll see me. For every walk, there is a staff member assigned. And if you've got questions about just volunteering or just getting involved in, that event or the Tennessee chapter, you can easily find a phone number and email address to that person. We also have our Instagram, Facebook for our state, which is End AlzTN. So our Instagram is at End AlzTN. Same with our Facebook handle. You'll find our Tennessee chapter page there, which has all of the walks under it listed as events. You can follow those pages where they share, pertinent information about each individual walk. They are all a little bit different about location and time and, what's going on at the event. So on those Facebook groups, they share a lot of that information. But yeah, there's just a lot of ways to get involved, and we'd love to talk to you about what fits with you and what, you're interested in. We have companies that get involved. We have just friends and families that get involved. We obviously do sponsorships for the walk. So there's just a number of things, of ways you can get involved.
Absolutely. Well, definitely get involved for sure, everyone. So Kelley, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.